We will be discussing the Overtime Settings UI and the process for creating a new overtime type. Welcome to our latest update on the new Overtime Settings UI. We've designed this feature to make managing your overtime settings easier and more efficient than ever before. To access the overtime settings, there are three ways. From getting started, from setups, from overtime transaction. Here's how to navigate from getting started. Navigate to the payroll module. Click on Getting Started. You can see Setup Overtime. Click on Setup. Then, a setting window will open. How to navigate from Setups? Navigate to the payroll module. Click on Setups. Click on Overtime. Then, a setting window will open. And here's how to navigate from overtime transaction. Navigate to the payroll module. Click on Overtime. Click on More. Then, click the Setting button. A setting window will open, providing a centralized place to manage all your essential overtime-related settings. No more searching through multiple menus, everything you need is right here. Check the Enable Approval workflow to assign it to the transaction. Whether you need to change your overtime types or make other adjustments, it's just a few clicks away. The intuitive design makes it easy to manage essential overtime settings, including setting up different overtime types, with minimal effort. Click the plus button to add a new overtime type or to modify an existing one. To edit your overtime type, click Edit, next to the overtime type you want to change. A window will open where you can make changes. Then, save the changes. Now, we are going to discuss how to create overtime type. To create an overtime type, click on the Add button. A window will open where users need to provide relevant details, such as enter the overtime type name, name Arabic in respective column. Select the salary component on which overtime earnings will get calculated. Select the category for this overtime type. Need to enable this if you want to calculate overtime based on calendar days irrespective of your payroll's calculation. For example, though your payroll is calculated on 26 fixed days but overtime will be calculated on days which is there in the calendar, so for January it will be calculated on 31 days. Then, click on Save. In validation, select the salary component group to calculate the total sum of all salary components to compare with maximum percentage. Specify the maximum percentage on which overtime will be calculated. This percentage are calculated on overtime salary. Validate the overtime transaction based on the maximum percentage of overtime salary. Not applicable. Validation is not applicable and the transaction will get approved without any validation. Do not approve. If the maximum percentage of overtime salary exceeds its limit, the overtime transaction will not get approved. Approve but generate maximum overtime salary. If the maximum percentage of overtime salary exceeds its limit, the overtime transaction will get approved but the overtime salary will get calculated on the maximum percentage provided for overtime salary. In Overtime Type Slabs, to add new row, click on Add button. Specify minimum and maximum hours to be worked in a day, along with the overtime rate for which overtime should be calculated. Specify the rate for this overtime type. Working days per period can also be mentioned, so overtime will be calculated on those particular days if you want to calculate overtime on fixed working days. In Advanced Setting, the effect of this settings will be used for the attendance posting. Specify pay benefits as amount or leave balance days. Amount, overtime will get paid in an amount. Leave balance days, overtime hours will be added to leave type as balance days. Specify in which leave type you need to add overtime hours. In general, enable this setting to make this overtime type the default for new employees. Choose a company if you want to restrict this overtime type to that company. This means the overtime type will only apply to that company. Provide any additional information in description. Then, click on View button. Your overtime type has now been successfully created. I hope you found this video useful. Thank you, and stay tuned for more.